There once was a man who had a daughter, who was called Clever Elsie, and when she had grown up, her father said,
"We will get her married."
"Yes," said the mother, "if only someone would come who would have her." At length, a man came from a distance and wooed her, who was called Hans. But he stipulated that Clever Elsie should be very smart.
"What's 1 times 1?
2?
No, that's 1 plus 1. What's 1 times 1?
Oh, look at the pretty little butterfly.
Oh,
Said the father.
she has plenty of good sense.
"Oh, she can see the wind coming up the street and hear the flies coughing."
Meh.
"Well," said Hans,
If she is not really smart, I won't have her.
when they were sitting at dinner and had eaten, the mother said, "Elsie, go down into the cellar and fetch some beer."
Yes, mother.
Then Clever Elsie took the pitcher from the wall and went down to the cellar, and tapped the lid briskly as she went, so that the time might not appear long. When she was below, she fetched herself a chair, and set it before the barrel so that she had no need to stoop. It did not hurt her back or do herself any unexpected injury. Then she placed the can before her and turned the tap. And while the beer was running, she would not let her eyes be idle, but looked up at the wall, and after much peering here and there, saw an axe exactly above her. Then Clever Elsie began to weep and said,
If I get Hans and we have a child and he grows big and fat and we send him into the cellar to drop beer, then the axe will fall on his head and kill him.
She sat there and wept and screamed with all the strength in her body over the misfortune that lay before her. Those upstairs waited for the drink, but Clever Elsie did not come. Then the woman said to the servant, "Just go down into the cellar and see where Elsie is." The maid went and found her sitting in front of the barrel, screaming loudly. "Elsie, why do you weep?" asked the maid.
She answered. Have I not reason to weep? If I get Hans and we have a child and he grows big and fat and he has to draw beer here, the axe will perhaps fall on his head and kill him.
Then the maid said, "What a clever Elsie we have!" and sat down beside her and began loudly to weep over the misfortune. After a while, as the maid did not come back and those upstairs were thirsty for the beer, the man said to the boy,
Just go down into the cellar and see where Elsie and the girl are.
The boy went down, and there sat Clever Elsie and the girl both weeping together. Then he asked, "Why are you weeping?" said Elsie.
Have I not reason to weep? If I get Hans and we have a child and he grows big and fat and obese and he has to drop beer here, the axe will fall on his head and kill him.
Then the boy said,
What a clever Elsie we have!
sat down by her and likewise began to howl loudly. Upstairs, they waited for the boy, but as he did not return, the man said to the woman,
Just go down into the cellar and see where Elsie is.
The woman went down and found all three in the midst of their lamentations, and inquired what the cause was. Then Elsie told her also that her future child was to be killed by the axe when it grew big and fat and had to draw beer, and the axe fell down. Then the mother said likewise, "What a clever Elsie we have!" sat down and wept with them. The man upstairs waited a short time, but as his wife did not come back and his thirst grew greater, he said,
I must go into the cellar myself and see where Elsie is.
"Maybe she died from stupidity. Maybe that's what causes spontaneous combustion. Nothing in the head." That's not in the script, by the way.
Ow! Fourth wall got broken good.
But when the man got into the cellar, and they were all sitting together crying, and he heard the reason, and that Elsie's child was the cause, and that Elsie might perhaps bring one into the world some day, and that he might be killed by the axe, if he should happen to be sitting underneath it, drawing beer just at the very time when it fell down, the father cried,
Oh, what a clever Elsie!
and sat down and began to weep with them. The bridegroom stayed upstairs alone for a long time. Then, as no one would come back, he thought,
They must be waiting for me below. I too must go there and see what they are about.
When he got down, the 5 of them were sitting screaming and lamenting quite pitifully.
What misfortune has happened?
Asked he.
Oh, dear Hans,
Said Elsie.
if we marry each other and have a child, and he is big, and we perhaps send him here to draw something to drink, then the axe which is left up there might dash his brains out if it were to fall down. So have we not reason to weep? Come, said Hans. More understanding that is not needed for my household. As you are such a clever Elsie, I will have you.
And he seized her hand and took her upstairs with him and married her. After Hans had had her some time, he said,
Wife, I am going out to work to earn some money for us. Go into the field and cut the corn that we may have some bread. Yes, dear Hans, I will do that.
After Hans had gone away, she cooked herself some good broth and took it out to the field with her. When she came to the field, she said to herself,
What shall I do? Shall I cut first? Or eat first? Oh, I will eat first.
Then she drank her cup of broth, and when she was fully satisfied, she once more said,
What shall I do? Shall I cut first? Or sleep first? I will sleep first.
Then she lay among the corn and fell asleep. Hans had been home for a long time, but Elsie had not returned. Then he said,
What a clever Elsie I have. She is so industrious that she does not even come home to eat.
But when evening came and she still stayed away, Hans went out to see what she had cut. But nothing was cut, and she was lying among the corn asleep. Then Hans headed home and brought a fowler's net, little bells, and hung it round about her, and she still went on sleeping. Then he ran home, shut the house door, and sat down in his chair and worked. At length, when it was quite dark, clever Elsie awoke, and when she got up there was a jingling sound all around her, and the bells rang at each step she took. Then she became alarmed, and wondered whether she was really clever Elsie or not, and said,
Is it I? Or is it not I?
But she knew not what answer to make to this, and stood for a time in doubt. At length she thought,
I will go home and ask if it be I, or if it be not I. They will be sure to know.
She ran to the door of her house, but it was shut. Then she knocked at the window and cried,
Hans, is Elsie within?
Yes, answered Hans, she is within. Hereupon she was terrified, and said,
Heavens, then it is not I,
and went to another door. But when the people heard the jingling of the bells, they would not answer, and she could get in nowhere. Then she ran out of the village, and no one has seen her since.